All right, folks, you made it to the last session. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Timekeeping 2.0, where we're going to go over some new features in Clio that came out this year, and also hopefully give you some context that you can learn about. So let's get started. My name is Greig. I'm a product manager here at Clio. I've been with the company for almost 2 years. November 6th is my second anniversary. It's a really fun job. What I get to do mostly in my day-to-day is learn about the problems that our customers have, and then work with talented folks like Madison and our engineering team back home in order to build the solutions that you use in Clio every single day. And I'm here with Madison today.
Hi everyone, I'm Madison. I'm a junior product designer who works on the same team as Sarah, as she mentioned. I've been with Clio for about 5 months now, but actually prior to joining the design team, I used to work on the Clio support team a few years ago, where I got to speak to customers such as yourselves every day, multiple times a day, and really got to understand what our customers were looking for from Clio. And then I made a decision to return to school for design, but I rejoined the team last May, where I'm now trying to apply those new skills that I have to try to tackle some of those issues that I heard firsthand. All right, so what are we going to be doing today? So in today's session, we're going to be covering a variety of topics that have to do with time tracking and timekeeping in Clio, starting with some metrics that highlight the importance of time tracking before diving into some deeper topics into how to make sure that you're capturing all your time and all your expenses in Clio effectively. And since this is 2.0, Timekeeping 2.0, we're going to assume that everyone in here is familiar with the basics of creating a time entry and creating an expense. So we're not going to be covering that or like how to interact with the timer, but rather expanding on those fundamentals and discussing some more advanced topics like harnessing non-billable time and enhanced expenses. At the very end, we are going to have a question and answer period. So if you do have any questions, just jot them down and we'll get to them at the end. Okay, so why is time tracking so important, and what exactly should you be tracking? I'm going to pass it off to Sarah now to talk a little bit more about that.
Awesome, thanks. So you've probably heard by now that we capture this thing called the Legal Trends Report every year, and something that we introduced this year is the concept of the law firm maturity model. And this model measures two axes. There's the client experience side of things and the firm productivity side of things. And really, when it comes down to measuring what matters, we're looking at this firm productivity things because we want to understand exactly what's happening across the business so that we can use that information to make better decisions. We also know that it can be a little bit difficult to understand exactly where all your time is going. And so each year we look at the utilization rate of our customers via anonymized data, and we find consistently that there's 5.6 hours or 33% of your time that is missing in each day. And that 31%, sorry, I misquoted, 31% of your time with that utilization rate, until you really understand where that remainder is actually going, it's going to be really difficult to understand what you could actually improve in your business and hopefully deliver a better client experience and then move up that law firm maturity model as a result. We also know that as soon as you start factoring in kind of different billing arrangements or different fee arrangements, this can become even more complex. When Madison and I are talking to customers, we often don't encounter, or we are more frequently encountering folks that aren't just doing hourly billing or aren't just doing flat rate billing. There's lots of blended rates. We are seeing trends where firms are starting to price their legal services based on the value that it delivers to clients rather than just picking an arbitrary rate. And so when you start factoring in all of these things, it can get a little bit more complex to actually understand, is the work I'm doing profitable? Am I being efficient with my time? What we're really here today is to help you start tracking that better. And in order to do that, you're going to be able to then take all the time and all the expenses and everything that you're capturing in your day-to-day and make better decisions as a result. We also know that this is great for our customers. When our customers and attorneys are starting to measure all of these items, they're getting a better competitive advantage because information is power. Until you really understand the types of matters that are really profitable for your firm or that are going to be the best use of your time, it's going to be more difficult to kind of build up and build that competitive advantage. All right, so let's take a look at what this is like in Clio. Madison's going to start us off by taking us through non-billable time, and then I'll cover enhanced expenses.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. So as Sarah mentioned, having better analytics gives you a better understanding into your firm, and more comprehensive time tracking gives you better analytics. So one of the most exciting new features to have come out in Clio over the past few months to do with time tracking has been the new feature of being able to track non-billable time. And this is something Sarah and I are both very excited about because it's a project that we both worked on and actually helped build. So simply put, non-billable time tracking is the ability to track time and capture time in Clio that is not intended for billing. So this could be maybe a free initial consult that you offer, or the time it takes to commute to court, or the time it takes to enter data into Clio. Whatever it is, being able to track all your time in your day is going to give you a greater insight into the activities that are occurring across your firm. So for example, it can help determine the profitability of maybe a flat rate matter, where you're now able to track and compare the amount of time and the cost input you're putting into the matter relative to the amount you're charging to know whether that is really the right amount that you should be charging, or whether you should be charging more or less. It also, if you're a firm partner or a firm owner, being able to have your staff account for all their hours of their day and be able to compensate them appropriately. And it also helps with being able to prove the commitment to your cases, to whoever, to your clients, to the court, when you're tracking all that time that you're spending in a day in matters that are maybe contingency fee or flat rate. And lastly, it also helps locate those missing 5.6 hours of the day to help you make the changes that are necessary to become more efficient and a more high-performing firm and ultimately work smarter, not harder. So back when I was in support, not being able to track this non-billable time is something that I heard a lot. And so going into this project, it was something that me and Sarah we wanted to create something that our customers could really use. And so far, it's been working. Since non-billable time was released on August 6th, roughly 1 million non-billable entries have now been created in Clio across 11,000 firms, which is fantastic. And if we look at billable hourly matters specifically, where prior it was difficult to get an accurate utilization rate, there's now been roughly 10,000 hours that have been accounted for, and it's contributed, or roughly equals $3.3 million worth of time that's now being tracked. This was time that was previously lost, money that was previously untracked and uncaptured, and is now, we're now giving you the ability to capture that and have those more accurate utilization rates. So using non-billable time is easy. When creating a new time entry in Clio, after you've filled in the necessary fields, simply check the box designated as non-billable, and then click Save. The new entry will appear in the activities table labeled as non-billable, with the total appearing under the non-billable column. And you can compare the totals in this new column at the bottom to compare your total non-billable work against your total billables and track the productivity of your firm. Any non-billable time entries that get created will be left off of your billing and will not impact your reports. You can also export this information on the activities table if you would like by clicking that export button at the bottom and exporting it as either a PDF or a CSV. Now, additionally, on the matter dashboard, we've also added a new handy graph that shows the breakdown of billable versus non-billable work. And this just gives you a high-level overview that can be really handy in determining profitability of your matter, for example, when it comes to flat rate matters in particular. So to highlight what I mean by that, here's an example. So Mary is a family attorney who's just beginning a new case for one of her clients, and it's going to be a flat rate matter. So when she's creating this matter in Clio, she has the ability to specify the flat rate that she would like to charge. And once she goes ahead and saves that matter, she can see under the activities table that flat rate amount appearing as unbilled and ready to be generated onto a future invoice. But Mary would like to also know how much time she's putting into this matter to really understand her cost input. So as she works, she tracks her time by creating these a new time hourly entry. And because Mary has specified the matter to be a flat rate matter, by default, any hourly entries are automatically marked as non-billable, allowing her to keep track of her hours at her regular rate without billing her client, and it's purely for internal purposes. So she can see that non-billable, once she's entered even one non-billable entry, on the matter dashboard, when she goes and visits it, she can see that time graph breakdown, and see that the non-billable work she's been doing is far less than the billable work, which in this case would be that flat rate amount. So maybe after several months, though, Mary comes back into this account and she sees that maybe her non-billable time has added up and it's now equal to that flat rate amount or that billable amount. She can then choose to pause work on the matter if she would like before she can contact the client and maybe negotiate a higher fee. So this is exactly how the workflow would work for a contingency fee matter as well, where the contingency fee would be what is billable, and any time hourly time you're logging would automatically default to non-billable. Now we do understand that doesn't fit everybody's workflow, so we have also created the ability to turn off this default of defaulting to non-billable and flat rate and contingency fee matters in your settings under billing. So if you go here and you disable this checkbox that's on the left-hand side here, this is disabling that non-billable time default. So what that will do is that when you create an hourly entry in either a flat rate or a contingency matter, instead of it defaulting to non-billable at your normal rate, it will default to billable, so that checkbox won't be checked by default, and it will instead zero out the rate. So the rate will be at $0. So non-billable time has the potential to make a significant impact for your firm. But don't take our word for it. Here's a quote from one of our customers, John Michelson, on how he was able to integrate non-billable time into his workflow. And John does a lot of marketing and administrative work, so non-billable time has been super helpful for him for being able to manage his time, manage his productivity, and ultimately hit his billable hourly targets.
Awesome. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about non-billable time. Again, Madison and I will be happy to answer some questions in a moment. But before we move on to that, let's take a look at enhanced expenses. This is also a feature that was released earlier this year. And it's designed to help you improve the classification of the types of expenses that you're doing, essentially by adding expense categories that default into hard costs and soft costs. So hard costs are expense recoveries that are paid on behalf of a client to a third party, such as a court fee. And a soft cost is something, a expense recovery not directly paid to a third party, so things like photocopying. And the reason we wanted to build a feature like this was to help kind of streamline those accounting workflows. We definitely understand that the bookkeeping side of running a legal practice is not always the most fun. And every time you need to do any sort of manual calculation or manual categorization, that introduces room for human error. And we're trying to avoid that wherever possible. So by creating these categories for hard costs and soft costs, you can then more efficiently categorize your expenses and hopefully make fewer errors as a result. And something that's going to be coming really, really soon, we've got some early access forms available in the Clio lab if you do want access to this, but hard costs will be importable into QuickBooks Online as well. So let's take a look at what this looks like. In Billing and Settings, there's this Expenses tab, and all you need to do is check this box on. If you're a newer account, this will happen by default, but if you've had Clio for a while, you might need to come in and enable this for your firm. It's going to turn on for everyone in the firm. Each user will be able to use this. And when we go into Activities, there's now this Manage Categories button, which isn't just for time categories. These are now also involved with expense categories. And you can see here, any expense categories you create are going to show in this list. And we can create new ones and specify whether they're going to be hard costs or soft costs right here. Give them a name, give them a rate, permissions if you need to. And each time we save these new categories, they're going to show in this list. So let's take a look at what this looks like on an expense entry. We can now see that there's this new hard costs and soft costs option. And we can also add new expense categories directly from here as well. If we are on our soft cost, we'll just let that catch up a sec. If we've got a hard cost for a filing fee, for example, we can specify the vendor because this is paid on behalf of a third party. So this is going to allow us to keep track of that a little bit more streamlined. Add a description, add your client name, your matter, and save it. We'll also take a look at what this looks like for a soft cost as well. And the difference for a soft cost is that we now have a quantity rate and rate field. And so instead of having to manually calculate what the actual total is, if you're doing photocopying, we could just have that calculate automatically if we did X number of copies. And if we need to add new expense categories, we don't just have to do it from the activities section. We can also do it directly from this modal and make sure that we're capturing all of this as we go. So again, we can name our vendor, give our rate, specify what it's going to be like. And once we save, each expense entry, it's just going to again save in our activities list, and we can see in this activities list with the H and the S, these little purple pills, we can see whether these are hard costs or soft costs. Next slide. Thanks. And so once you kind of start capturing all this information, not just for enhanced expenses, but for non-billable time as well, you kind of need to start doing something with it, ideally, in order to actually make this useful for the firm. And so hopefully you took a look at the new firm dashboard that's coming out. Again, this is available for early access as well if you're interested in signing up. But this will take your billable and your non-billable time and provide you with some insights in order to understand exactly that utilization rate that Madison and I mentioned earlier. And if you want to get a little bit more sophisticated, you can also export all of this information directly from Clio via the export button that's available on your activities data table. You can do that in PDF format if you perhaps want to share it with other members of the firm or with your clients directly as well. Or if you want to do pivot tables, that sort of analysis, you can do that there as well. And another great thing, if you haven't tried it, we've got the brand new Clio mobile app that's come out. You can track both billable, non-billable, and enhanced expenses, on the Clio mobile app. So wherever you are, you can make sure you're tracking all of this as on the go, and making sure that at the end of the day, when you've accumulated all this data, you can actually do something with it. It's really important to start building that habit of capturing this in the first place. I know when we talk to customers, sometimes folks struggle to capture time, particularly if they're doing flat rate work. It's kind of like, what's the point? But with this feature and being able to understand for non-billable time in particular, the opportunity cost of your time and help you set better rates on your flat rate matters, hopefully you're going to gain some new insight into how to run your firm better. Awesome. So hopefully you learned something new. I know it's a lot to run through in a very short period of time. We're going to take a moment to run through some questions. But before we do, I just want to remind everyone that we've got the closing keynote very shortly. Thank you for making it through all these sessions today and yesterday. I know it's a lot to take in. And then we've got closing remarks and a prize giveaway from our CEO, Jack. We love having the customer that wins the prize to Vancouver. We love having them out to the office and showing them what we do on a day-to-day basis, and kind of you get to peek behind the curtain a little bit. And then hopefully we'll see you all at Clio After Dark as well. So it looks like we've got about 10 minutes for questions, but thank you so much for your time, and we'd be happy to help.
Okay, I think we have a mic that's circulating.
Yeah, there we go.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
How would you do a case where it's a minimum fee? In other words, maybe you're going to charge, the minimum fee is $5,000. You keep track of all of your time, and in that particular case, let's say it's $7,000. So you're billing them as soon as you go over that $5,000 minimum fee. How would you track that? Or because it's not really a flat fee, it's not really, or would you just keep it as hourly?
Yeah, so I would, it all depends on what you want the defaults to be. So when you start, you could create that as a flat rate matter. And as you go, once you get that minimum fee or minimum threshold reached with the flat fee and you're charging after that, you do have the ability to edit the matter and switch it to be a billable matter at that point. Yeah, absolutely. Then you can keep going, keep adding time after that. At that point, the checkbox won't be checked by default, and you can keep adding billable time to it. I don't know who to go with first. Let's go with you.
When you're spending time on office administrative responsibilities that are non-billable, how do you what's the best way to tie to a matter? So do you create like an internal office matter to track those non-billable time, or is there a better way to do it?
Yeah, so if it's something that's more administrative, we do recommend creating like an administrative matter, and you can mark, when you create the matter, there's a checkbox that says this matter is billable. If you uncheck that, everything in it will be an non-billable entry by default, and no bill will be generated for that. So that's typically what we recommend is a separate administrative non-billable matter as a whole.
Okay, yeah, that was my same question, I guess. So we should create another matter for marketing and,
Yeah, that would be
Administrative.
one way to structure it if it's not specific to a certain client's matter. Yeah.
and when we do flat fee, can we go back and change flat fees or, and we can do expenses even though you have flat fee?
Yeah, you can absolutely still add expenses in flat fee. You do have the ability to edit a matter and change it to billable or like to hourly, sorry, and back to flat. Is that what you mean?
Well, maybe I have a couple, I'm not exactly sure what, there's 5 different things that I've quoted flat fees for, and I'm not sure how many they're going to do.
Okay, how many are coming? Well, like in a flat fee matter, it will just, like hourly entries will just default to non-bill, but you can still uncheck it like as on a case-by-case basis
But I
as it
could
comes up.
edit, so I put down $1,200, and it turns out that they did 5 things, and so now it's 2,000.
Yeah, you can edit that, absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so we know how to track our time, we know how to pick all the options, but we're a little too distracted during our day to sit down and actually log every single time we spend time on something. We've learned throughout the last few days that there are other add-ons that we can use that will kind of automate this for us, such as Wise Time. And what suggestions do you have of other vendors like Wise Time or something that will help us in automating the calculation of our time?
Yeah, there's quite a few integration partners that have built things specific to time tracking. I don't know that I can name them all off the top of my head.
Yeah, we can get this information for you. It's not something that I think either of us can name off the top of our head. Our support team is usually quite versed into those integration partners as well. But if we can talk afterwards, I'm sure we can go back over into the ballroom together and figure that out for you.
The one thing I'll say too is even if you're using an integration partner like that, once those activities are all captured in Clio, you can also bulk select them and modify them to be non-billable. So if you are passively tracking your time all day and then you're like, oh, actually, that wasn't really billable time, you can also bulk select and modify those there.
Okay. So you were talking earlier about using the non-billable time to track the profitability on a flat fee matter. So in that instance, you're using the non-billable for all activity entries, not just those administrative tasks such as, mailings or whatever. But that time does not appear on a draft bill so that you can verify the accuracy of it, verify that it was posted to the correct matter or that it was entered as 20 minutes and not accidentally entered as 20 hours. Are there plans to get that to where it will start showing up on a draft bill so you can review the accuracy of it?
Yeah, we're definitely still collecting feedback on it. We kind of intentionally left it out of the billing workflow initially, but if that's something that's important to your firm, Madison and I would definitely love to dig a little deeper and understand that better. We can definitely chat after this.
And that default setting also
Yes.
might help you. So that where I talked about in settings under billing, you can disable the non-billable time default. In that case, it's technically it will appear on a bill because it's being marked as billable, but at a rate of $0. That's one way to keep that functionality you might be used to for now. Yeah. Any more questions?
Yeah, I think there's one
Oh.
more.
When we work on a bill for a client, for example, we don't bill monthly because we're on contingency. But if a client calls and says, hey, can I see my bill tomorrow? And we pull that bill, everything kind of is deleted from the activities. And then we have to delete that bill to get it all back and keep editing that bill. Is there any way to not have that issue where maybe the client sees a bill today, but then, we can keep working on it and adding to it instead of having to delete it back and then losing that bill and then creating another bill?
I think if you're looking to give sort of like a running total idea to the client, one way to do that would be to configure it in the activities data table and then export a PDF and just give them a PDF view of all the work that you've been doing so that you don't actually even need to go into that billing workflow.
Got it, okay.
Anything else? One more?
Is there a quick and easy way to change retroactively all of the non-billable time that you've previously billed out as $0?
Yes.
For having that feature?
Yeah, so we do have a bulk editing that you can do from the activities table. So if you select multiple ones, click edit in the pop-up window that appears, you'll see the option to switch them to non-billable. Yeah.
Awesome.
There's one in the back.
One more. All right. This is great. We love that everyone has questions.
Yeah.
Do soft costs show on the bill?
Soft costs, yes. So similar for any expense entries, whether it's a hard cost or a soft cost, you can show it on the bill or you could remove it from the bill. That's it's separate from the non-billable feature.
Is there any way, like the non-billable time, to have it not show up on the bill?
To have the
Besides
expenses
deleting
not
it.
show up?
Yes.
Right now, we don't have the ability to have non-billable expenses, but it is something that I would love to talk to you more about and how, if that's important to you and the use case you use that for, that we can get feedback on that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate you bearing with us. Madison and I will be around for a little bit. We'll also be wrapping up in the Clio lab this afternoon, but appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yeah.